Okay guys, it's been a little while since I've done one of these, so I figured I'd start recording and make you a little update video. Today is the 19th of September. It's definitely going to be probably the 21st or 22nd once I actually get this posted. But without further ado, I'll tell you what's been going on with each of the cars and what's coming up next. Oldsmobile, nothing's changed since the last like 3 updates. It still needs a transmission lockup solenoid and it still needs a frost plug, but those are the only 2 problems that it has anymore. So I'm just waiting for a good time at work after hours to get those things done. I did end up hooking my heater core back up because it is the fall now and it's getting cold enough in the mornings to actually justify having a heater. So I hooked that back up and have been dealing with the heat being constantly stuck on. So it's not so bad in the mornings, and it's not so bad when it's about 65 right now, so it's not so bad with the windows down. But when it's warmer, I try to drive a different car because it's just a little unbearable. But that's what's going on with the Oldsmobile. Nothing new, nothing broke, nothing changed with it. It's still being a good daily driver for me. So let's go on to the shop now. I'll show you what I got going on there. Okay, so here's the Chevy Citation that I acquired a couple months ago as a little free car I got. I made a video or two about this, but nothing really too in-depth, and there's not really going to be much in-depth because it's just a lot of electrical work and stuff. Needed a fair bit of work, still needs a fair bit of work. I've actually got it in here so I can tear the carburetor off and fix the choke and a couple other things that's wrong with it. I'm going to see if I can diagnose why the cruise ain't working, but I think I already know why, and it's something that got to do with the fact that the computer does not exist on this vehicle anymore, and I'm pretty sure this cruise control goes off of the computer, so nothing I can do about that. But it also needs a new washer tank, which I could not find, so I bought one for an S10 Blazer, which is going to end up going right here. One of the bolt holes is going to go on that bolt, and the other one's probably going to end up getting zip tied to this relay here. But I'll get that. That's a new washer pump. Needs sway bar links in the rear end. And what else did I need for this? Something else that I needed. I fixed my blower. It was this here relay for the blower fan. Replaced the relay, and now I got all 4 speeds on my blower fan. And it needs a couple other things here and there, but it's just about almost drivable. Once it's drivable, I'll be driving it quite a bit to see if it's more reliable than the little blue beater and if it has better gas mileage. And if it does, I'll get into the next segment of this here is I have actually decided that I'm probably going to end up selling that little Mercury Comet that I got, because this car, if I can get the cruise control working and it gets better gas mileage, this car is better than that Maverick or Comet in almost every way, and there's really no reason to have the Comet anymore. And it's just taking up space. It's the interior kind of hurts my back to drive. I'm a tall guy. I got a bad back as is. I don't need that car. It's got no lumbar support whatsoever. Not that I like lumbar support, but like these seats are much, much more comfortable than the bench in that little Comet. So I much prefer this car as a beater than I do that Comet. Even though the Comet is older, it's simpler, it's easier to fix, it's not front wheel drive, it's not this transverse bullshit, but it is nonetheless 10 years older, good 10 years older than this, and it's just, I just don't have a reason to have it. I know there's been a couple of people on my channel that keep asking me if it's for sale. Well, today's your lucky day. It's probably going to end up being for sale unless I can find a pretty good reason not to sell it. So stay tuned for a showcase video on that car for when I try to sell it. But as of right now, it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. It's going to end up being an over the winter type deal probably, and at that point I might as well just wait till spring, because I got to get this car, give this car a good chance to prove itself to me that it's going to be better than the Comet, because at this point it's not, because the choke doesn't work, it doesn't run right, shifts weird, I need to adjust a bunch of things, I need to retune the carburetor, probably got to do spark plugs, just fix a couple odds and ends here and there to make sure that it's going to end up being a better car. But that's what I got going on with the Citation. I'm actually going to tear that carburetor off right after I'm done recording this video, and then take it apart, rebuild it, fix my choke, and go from there. Also, in the spirit of selling cars, my Lincoln that I have had several videos on that I actually bought back at the end of 2019 and drove as a daily driver for years, for 4 years now, or almost 4 years, I guess, since it blew up earlier this year. I was thinking of keeping it, using it as a beater, winter beater, obviously, since I already have a summer beater. And but it's now starting to have electrical problems, and it's just starting to have issues that I really don't want to deal with. And it's at this point, it's getting to the kind of be the thing where it's another problem that I have. It's not a car that I actually use or need. So what I'll end up doing with that is I'll probably end up looking for a set of junkyard tires to put on it, so I can keep the ones that are on there, because it's the same size as the ones on my Oldsmobile. So when the Olds needs tires, I'll rob them off the Lincoln, and the Lincolns, either I'm going to try to sell it for dirt cheap on the Facebook Marketplace, or I'm just going to end up going to the junkyard and getting a couple hundred for it. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that yet. It pains me to say that because it was a nice car. It was a good car to me. I liked it. But like I said, it's just another problem at this point, and I do not need another problem. So taking up space, it's got to go. Anyway, that's what I've got going on with those three cars I just described. This one, the Comet, and the Lincoln. Let's go outside and look at the other two. Okay, as of the Cadillac, so interestingly enough, I actually recorded the video on this and did not end up posting it because it wasn't that high quality. It was kind of shaky, the film was, and you couldn't really see what I was trying to depict in the video. So I ended up not uploading it, or not even trying to upload it. I just ended up deleting it after I sort of watched it over and realized how terrible it was. But a few weeks ago, I went on a little road trip up north to my grandparents, go on the lake, on the pontoon, have some fun, Labor Day weekend. On my way home, I noticed people were passing me. I was already going way over the speed limit. People were getting out of the lane that I was in from behind me and going around me. And I was thinking, what is wrong with these people? They just never seen an older Cadillac before. I stopped at the gas station to get gas. Some guy walked up to me and said, "Hey, you got something dragging from under your car." I looked underneath, and sure enough, 2 of the 3 fuel tank straps were hanging down, scraping on the road. I don't know how long it'd been like that, but clearly that's probably why people were pointing at me and going around and being all weird, because there was sparks probably flying out from under my car. So, took the car into the shop at work, replaced the fuel tank straps. In the process of doing that, obviously I had to lift the car up with a hoist. I lifted it up by the frame, not by the wheels, because I was on a rotary hoist instead of a drive-on. And this left rear shock ended up getting hyperextended, and the piston got stuck in the up position. So when I lowered the car back down, the rear was sitting way higher than the front, and you couldn't push the car down to get any kind of shock absorption. It was like you just put a 2x4 in place of the shock, and it rode like shit. So I ended up having to take that shock out, brand new, get it on warranty, replaced it. Wasn't that hard, but it could have been easier. And now it rides okay again. So that's the excitement that's happened with the Cadillac. Still needs front ball joints, still needs all that steering stuff lubricated, still needs new tie rod ends, and it still needs an alignment. And that's all going to get done at some point later this fall. But I have to save up some money to do that because it's going to be expensive. So that's what we got going on the Cadillac. Now, last but not least, the Mercury. I ain't released a video on this in a while. There's 2 of them that I'm going to upload before I upload this, so you'll see them. If you watch them, anyway. Progress is being made. I finally got it tuned up the way that I want it. It used the idle, being that there's a bigger cam in there now, I had to crank the idle up almost a full turn in more than it was before. So now it idles a little higher, but it doesn't stumble, it doesn't sputter, and it doesn't die while it's in gear. So I don't have to worry about it anymore. I used to have to put it in neutral or feather the gas while my foot was on the brake to make sure that it would not die while I was at a stoplight, and it was just kind of getting to the point where I didn't want to drive it that much because it was a hassle, it was a headache. So I ended up doing what I didn't want to do, turn up the idle speed a little bit, and that was ultimately a lot better. It's a good band-aid for now, but what I'll probably end up doing is taking it to the engine shop that got me my cam and having them look it over and fully go over it, tune it up, adjust the timing the way you should with that cam, adjust the idle, adjust the mixer screws, adjust all that stuff so it just runs like a top. But that's going to cost money that I don't have, so I'm not doing it this year. In other news on this, I fixed the leaking air suspension fitting on it, so you can't really tell right now because I'm on an incline, but the car is actually sitting level. Before, the rear had quite a squat because the air suspension was bottomed out on the bump stops. But now that air line, I replaced the whole line. I did a video on it. That was one of the things I done a video on. Replaced the whole air line instead of just the fitting, and now it doesn't leak, so it holds pressure. And I've got functioning rear suspension, so that's good. I still have a whining or a hissing sound coming from my brake pedal, and I've determined that it's most likely because the engine doesn't make enough vacuum with the current timing and setup, ignition timing, valve timing, all that stuff with that cam. It doesn't like to give vacuum brakes when you're not moving very fast, so it gives you a little squeak or a hiss when you hit the brakes at a certain point. That is not fixable. It's not something I can do anything about. If it still does it after I get it professionally tuned up, I will think about possibly putting a auxiliary vacuum pump on the engine. Belt driven, obviously. I don't think I'm going to do electric. Belt driven auxiliary vacuum pump, old school style, muscle car kind of thing. See if I can boost those vacuum numbers up a little bit so I can have full range on my brake booster and a couple other things that have kind of ceased to work since I got that cam in there. What else have I done? I finally just decided, you know what, screw it. It's kind of a cool conversation piece to have hydraulic trailer brakes on this, but I kept hitting my head on it when I was doing work under the dash. So if you look at my previous videos, there was a hydraulic trailer brake unit right in here, and I got rid of it. Now it's gone. I got rid of all the extra wires. There's not a bunch of wires dangling down. Cleaned up under the dash quite a bit. There was a bunch of open wires and resistors and things that didn't need to be there. So I got rid of all of it. I saved it just in case I wanted it. So I saved that, put it on the parts shelf, but it's gone out of the car now, so that little piece of history is gone. But it's ultimately what ended up having to happen. It was in the way. It wasn't doing anything. I was never going to haul anything with this, so that's just the way it is now. Now, last but not least of this video, I found out why my cruise control ain't working. And that's the problem I've been fighting almost since I got the car. When I got the car, initially, cruise control did work. It didn't work very well. It surged. It would sometimes not turn on all the way, or it would turn on and set the speed, and then it would turn off, or it would act like there wasn't a solid connection somewhere. But eventually, it just quit working altogether. It wouldn't turn on. I wasn't getting power at the switch. I thought it was a bad switch, so I replaced the switch, and it still didn't work. And I got pretty frustrated at that. So I started looking in both my manuals. I looked at the actual, not at the flow chart for repairing and diagnosing, but I looked at the actual wiring diagram. And interestingly enough, for some dumb fuck reason, Ford put the cruise control circuit on all their vehicles that had cruise control from like the early 70s all the way until 1997. They put it through the horn relay for some reason. And what's even dumber, these older vehicles that had cruise control, if you got one of these and it didn't have cruise, you wouldn't even have a horn relay. So what is the point of having a horn relay if it's only used for cruise control? All the, like the trucks and stuff just had hot horns. They didn't have a fuse or a relay on it. It was just hot wired, like this one is currently. So if you're gonna do that, why not put a cruise control relay in there instead of a horn relay? Because nobody thinks to look at a horn relay, and even the floor charts didn't say to look at the horn relay. But sure enough, took the horn relay out, popped the cap off, and the wire that connects terminal 1, where the battery power comes from, that connects terminal 1 to terminal 2, where cruise control switch power goes to, is broken. So I ordered a new relay. It was $20 on Rock Auto, and it won't be here until Monday, which is almost a whole week from now, so that sucks. But sure enough, that is what most likely will end up being my issue with the cruise control not working, is that stupid horn relay. So if you got an old Ford vehicle like this, or I guess not even old, if it's 97 or anything in the 90s, Crown Victoria, Grand Marquis, Lincoln Town Car, and your cruise control don't work, and your horn doesn't happens to not work at the same time, it's the horn relay that will stop your cruise control from working. Additionally to that, if you have a horn that will not stop blowing because your clock spring snapped inside your steering wheel and the horn's stuck on, and you pull the relay, you're not going to get cruise control. So it's kind of a Achilles heel for that, if you want to think of it that way. They put a circuit that should not have existed through the horn relay, instead of just making it its own thing, which I don't know if I'm understanding this entirely correctly, because this vehicle isn't wired the factory way anymore, because it's got an aftermarket horn in it. But if I understand this correctly, the way that's wired means that if you've got cruise control, you're cruising down the highway, 60 miles an hour, you're driving in the country, you drive by your buddy's house and you honk your horn, cruise control is going to turn off. I don't know if that's true, because I've never tried it and I can't try it because the vehicle's not wired like that. But that seems to be how it would operate if it was set up the way it was supposed to be. And that's kind of dumb. But anyway, I'm not an engineer. I don't know why they did it that way, and I'm not going to try to guess why they did it that way. But that's the way it is, so that's what I've got to do. And that just about wraps up everything that I've got to talk about in this video. So it's a little longer than the usual video, but it's about the same length as all my update videos have been since I got a few more cars. So yeah, that's what I've got going on. I'll try to upload more videos as I start fixing more things. I'll probably do a full video on the cruise control on this at some point. I've also got to put my new radio in this. I'm going to fab that up, get my new plate in there, and then I'm going to be done with it for the year. I'm going to put it away for the winter. After, of course, I drive it quite a bit because it's cooler now. I can drive it now. But yeah, without further ado, I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you made it all the way through, go down in the comments and say you made it all the way through, because I always enjoy seeing that people actually care about my bullshit enough to watch the whole video. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.